So, good evening from Free to Heal, all the folks on Free to Heal. We are here tonight. We just finished with a wonderful conversation with some of our folks from the Francisco homes. And I just want to, some of the things that we talked about is that what happens when people start asking you questions about your past. In particular, we talked about them asking questions about how many people you've been with in the past, what kind of relationships you had with women when you were incarcerated, or men when you were incarcerated.
How many people you talking to?
Right.
How many people come to see you?
And all those kinds of questions. And I just want to encourage people to number one, because I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't do this. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm growing up. And YouTube. Well, they on YouTube. Hopefully they're seeing me on YouTube right now, okay? So I just want to welcome you and thank you for being here. But one of the things, again, that came up is the idea of how you answer those questions. And my personal philosophy is that you don't answer those questions at all unless you were in a relationship with that person during the time that they're asking about. How many people you've been in relationship with, how many people, it's none of their business. Why? Because there is no appropriate answer to the question.
No, because it's the past. You can't go back and take nothing back out of it. And you don't know nothing about it because you wasn't there. So why would you want to talk about something that has nothing to do with you?
And it has no bearing on how I'm going to deal with you. It has no bearing on who you are. But one of the things, terms that came up was one of the new guys coming home was asking about toxic masculinity, the terms and things, and what happens. And I've shared with you guys before, oftentimes when men come home and the woman has been put in a position to just have to keep everything in place and keep everything moving, everything in place to keep it moving, she is in survival mode. She has no idea how to stop doing everything
because your brain goes to what's called
survival mode.
Yeah, fight or flight.
Yeah, but it's just surviving.
On edge all the time because you just, I gotta do this. Your brain just races. It just races. It could be like a really calm day. Honestly, it could be a calm day. You can get up, you can go to work, you can come home, you can take care of the kids, but your brain just kick in and you be like, what did I miss? What did I didn't do? And that's not a good place to be in. That's not a good feeling. It's not even good to function in that order or in that manner, because first of all, it's not healthy. It's not healthy
because when you're in that stressful state, your body is secreting cortisol or whatever that hormone is, which is not good, it's toxic to the body. But this is the thing, oftentimes when a mate is removed from the household and goes to incarceration, the mate that stays home kicks into that mode. You kick into that mode by itself, and it goes on for so long, it becomes almost a normal way of functioning. Yeah. It becomes normal, and so therefore you don't wind up with the ability to say, wait a minute, slow down, this is not this. You never think that.
You never think about stopping. You don't ever think about slowing down. All your brain is
keep moving.
And heavens is what I need to get done. How can I get it done? Okay, I gotta get off. So I gotta take him here. I gotta get off. So I gotta take him here. Okay, when I get off, I gotta go. That's your brain. That's all you think about all day long.
Constantly thinking about the next thing, the next move that you have to make. And by the time you lay down at night to go to bed, now you're thinking about what you got to do the next day. That's if you can even get to sleep right away.
You can't. You're not going to sleep right away.
And
that's when that's what I said when it's not healthy, because you don't sleep. There's no more sleeping, because if you try to lay down, your brain is going to kick back in like, oh man, I didn't. And then you're gonna be like, it's always this. It's so weird, but you get this. Oh, I didn't get a call today.
Oh my goodness.
So now you're worried about that.
Right. So yes. Is everything okay with us?
Yes.
Between us, because normally he would call today, and today he didn't call.
Is he okay?
Is he okay? Did something happen in the prison? Because you're not going to get a phone call if something happened in the prison. You can't pick up the phone and call and say, is everything okay?
Nope.
Right? Even if they have a cell phone, you don't have the luxury to just call them. You don't call out of place, because then they might get in trouble for having a cell phone, which is going to add time to their sentence. So you don't just pick up the phone, even if they have a cell phone. All you're doing is waiting for them to call.
And that's the thing, that wait thing is what majority women cannot handle. The weight with the pressure, a lot of people can't handle that. They can't. The weight, the pressure, your life, your business, your job, your family, your friend. It's too much. Some people don't know how to remove themselves from certain places to stay in this one zone to take care of the business you're supposed to take care of, not everybody else's. That's when you get to that. You want to be a people pleaser, but you don't know that you turn to a people pleaser because you're trying to. Well, how can I say it? You try not to hurt, so you try to block it all out. So you try to do all this other stuff for people, and it's not good. I say it comes where it's not healthy no more, and that's where the anger come in. That's where the fights come in. That's where some women leave their children. Most women leave their husbands, their boyfriends, because a lot of people can't handle it. It's a whole lot when a person goes to jail. It's way more complicated than what people make it seem to be. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress
on the person that's at home.
It's a lot.
See, people talk often about how much strain and how much pressure is on the inmate, but they never really discuss how much pressure is on the woman or the person, the loved one that's at home. Another thing that we talked about with the group earlier was we were talking about them, and we talked about how many people you've been with. And the notion that those questions, those kinds of questions, and what's the difference. But one of the things that I thought was so interesting that you talked about was how even in the women's prison, when the inmate is, I will use this term, a stud, or they're considered the men in the prison, they act like men and they assume the masculine role. To show you how far society has programmed us, that if a woman has more than one partner, she's a hoe, but a man is considered a stud. Because even in the female prisons, it is okay for that person to have more than one other inmate that they're seeing, more than one inmate that they're sleeping with, and all of that. But then if a female inmate that is on the female side has somebody, she is still degraded and referred to as a hoe. And that is an amazing concept to me that I would never have thought about, but is how it functions, that even in their inside of prison, a person that is given the role or assumed to be male or masculine, it automatically becomes acceptable for them to have multiple relationships simultaneously, and it's still not acceptable for a female to have that. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think that's only with the females, because most males, it's like when we talk about a homosexual, we're not happy. You know what I'm saying? Talk about he's a dick sucker or this or that. But when you talk about two women getting it down, we have here.
Yeah, that's always been the case. Yeah, homosexuality is only, in a man's mind, in a man's world, is only two men. Two women is still homosexual behavior, but that's perfectly fine with men. And again, it is all societies.
And most men like women that's like that anyway.
Oh yeah. Well,
they try to turn them.
They do.
Yeah, they try to turn them.
So wait, so we got a little challenge. So now the question. So what your thing is, men like bisexual women.
They do.
Okay. No. Okay. So that's the clarity. The clarity being that men like bisexual women or even homosexual women, but not the stud. Because it makes sense. A man is not trying to, unless he's homosexual, is not trying to sleep with another man. So you will find, it's one of the things that I always said about the advertising industry, is that the advertising industry, the reason that they keep putting out there this skinny, shapeless woman as the model is because they're homosexual men that are running that industry. And for them, that is the version of what turns them on. And if you look back in years in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, women had curves.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at ads, even then they had little pouches, the way that we're all built.
Yeah.
But over time,
they got
particularly skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, and less curves, less shape.
Yeah, nobody has no curves.
They all look like little boys.
Like
Why?
Like 12-year-old boys.
12-year-old boys. Why? Because the homosexual men that are running the advertising agencies are homosexual men, and that's what they want to see. Yes, and so what you wind up with is this notion, because most women are not built like that.
No.
It is very rare that you find women that are built like that, like little boys. And so a lot of women begin to chase that at an unhealthy level, trying to reach a status that unfortunately most men don't even like.
Yes, no, because I need some meat somewhere.
Most men do not like sticks and bones.
I need some meat
Now they don't want fat, slobby, and some men like that too.
No,
I know some men. I know one guy, he said his thing was, if she ain't at least 240 pounds, she can't even speak to me. That's how much he wanted her to be, in his mind, 240 pounds was his minimum.
Yeah, it's like the show that comes on, the 600 pound.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they be feeding them because they want them to be like that.
Okay. See, so there are, and I always say this, I try to say this to, and what's important about this conversation is for people not to get caught up in what they see in media as what they should be looking for and who they should be and how they should, because it has nothing to do with anything. The little young girls that they know that social media is creating mental disturbance and mental illness in them and depression, have them chasing to look like the Kardashians, but the Kardashians don't look like the Kardashians. When they wake up, listen, when they wake up in the morning, they don't look like they, and they've had plastic surgery. They've had plastic surgery. Whatever they have done or not done.
If she don't put this stuff on right here, she got 2 black eyes.
The concealers, and not only that, all the makeup artists and hairstylists and all the things that they have, right? And then they get to Photoshop their pictures. Just know this, men. What's his out of Compton? Kendrick Lamar. He said, "Can I just get something natural?"
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Even where the natural women at? Listen, women naturally have curves. We're naturally softer. We're naturally fluffy. That is, again, not to say that everybody needs to be fat. Okay, there's a difference. But men,
not anorexic,
not
looking sick.
No, exactly.
Food, not a salad.
Get yourself something. Yeah, okay. Now that's the one thing I know. Men don't sit up here talking about you just gonna have a salad. The salad eating bitches, y'all not getting no love either. The salad that you growling. Oh no, that's just my stomach. Yeah, and it's a lot of women that do that. That is not attractive, but it's important. The reason I thought it was so interesting because I didn't even realize that even incarcerated, there's this double standard that the stud gets to have multiple relationships, and that the woman, the femme. Well, but what's worse than that is it's okay to me that they do it, but what's not okay to me is the fact that society inside of that prison does them the same way that they do on the outside. That is totally unacceptable, making them think, now mind you, you're in a situation where you're just trying to get out of here alive with a modicum of sanity, because the institutions are designed to destroy your soul. Yes.
You wouldn't believe how many times I had to stick somebody because somebody had a punk in the cell and this and that, and I told him, I said, well, you're a punk,
And they didn't think of themselves that way.
No, I said if you play in the ball game,
you're a ball player.
It don't matter if you're a pitcher or catcher.
You're a ball player.
Yeah, and I
You're
tell
on the
them,
team.
and I
You're on the team, baby.
I tell them, and
they didn't want to hear that.
Yeah, but I have a problem, and you know me. Because back then, I'd taken some bitch out in a heartbeat, and so I'd say what I want. And if they didn't like it, deal with it. Go get your buddies if that's what you need.
Right.
Because most of them are cowards in the first fucking place.
Right.
Anybody who runs a pack gets coward.
Yeah, they're cowards.
Yeah, if you can't stand up on your own and stand up for your own position, it's like this lady that I was part of this group from West Virginia, and the lady she friended me on Facebook, and what would happen is she would put up all these political things, and when I would respond, they were very much Trump supporters and Republicans and stuff, and when I would respond and ask questions and point out things that just wasn't true or whatever, and then her friends would start attacking me. she wouldn't say nothing. But then when I started defending myself against them, now we got to be respectful and this, and that. And ultimately, she unfriended me last week. But I told her, I said, the problem is you're a coward. Mm-hmm. You're a coward because you and your friends can't handle hearing something that doesn't agree with you. You guys talk in a little echo chamber. If they're not agreeing with you, then all of a sudden you can't even listen to what they say. But I told her, I said, you a coward because you know that nobody stole the election from him, but you would never tell your friends that because you a coward. You rolling in a group of Trump supporters. And
but
so,
you know he would have won, right? Y'all, Jesse, I can tell you why. He would have won because he was winning. Until somebody had to ding, 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 ding. He got up there and said, I had COVID, but I beat it. And you got all the people dying.
Let me tell you.
And every which way.
I will agree with you at this level. COVID cost him the presidency, but let me tell you why I think it was.
He should never got there and said that.
No, but listen, let me tell you why. It was because of what it did to the economy.
Oh, yeah.
And Paulson, who was the chairman of the Federal Reserve, went on 60 Minutes sometime in, let's say, June, July at the latest of 2020 and said, what we need to do for the economy is pay the people that have the least income to be able to stay at home until we can get a handle on the virus. And once we get a handle on the virus, then they can go back to work. Well, what he did was he started out trying to make money off of the testing and all that stuff. And when he couldn't make money on those things, then he made it a thing, and he made it as if it was not real and it was going to disappear. All of that cost them money.
Right.
It cost them money. And that's what got him.
But that to the blessing, you gonna sit there and say, like, because I'm Donald Trump, I got a shot and I'm cured. You made a joke of it because you're the president. Everybody else don't have to can't get taken care of the same way. And then that was a disaster out of everybody's control. Automatically, that's why I'm like, please read, y'all.
Yeah.
Please listen when you read. That was a disaster. That was out of everybody's control.
It was
worldwide.
worldwide.
What job you was on? That was it. You didn't have to pay nothing. You didn't have to do nothing. Everything was supposed to be paid for us because that was a disaster that we had no control over.
Right.
But when they sent out that little change, I was so happy.
I hope they get that fucker.
You just want to take that.
Gas.
Raise the gas. Well, you know that the tragedy with the gas thing is a lot of that is just price gouging on the part of the corporations. They're just raising the prices because they see the opportunity to do that. And when and I am not even though people
$7 a gallon.
Yeah, well, you know what? Thankfully, I stay home. And do you know that in most places around the world, it's been $8-9 a gallon for years?
Yeah, but it takes like $4.
And the thing of it is that we need to put it in some context. But also, when Biden the Democrats wanted to pass a law that said to make it illegal for the oil companies to price gouge, the Republicans blocked it. That was just in the last week or two. This is the thing. I don't believe any Republican or Democrats really had the best interests of the people at heart. I don't care which one they are. But I will tell you.
That's like the rent right now. Just like the man said on TikTok. He was honestly, his daughter one is like 20, and the other I think was like 22 or so, 23. Anyway, anytime, any apartment now you go to, they want you to make 5 times rent. At their age, they're working where? Right. So how are they going to make 5 times the rent? But that's anywhere you go.
And it used to be 3 times, and this is why we have so much homelessness. Mm-hmm. Also, I did a live last week on Friday, and I was talking about the fact that a lot of these things don't seem related. Like the corporations buying up all of the land, buying up all the single-family homes before college kids and couples can get a hold of it. The fact that the abortion decision, the abortion decision may not seem like it have anything to do with that. Not forgiving student loan debt. It may not seem like it have nothing to do with that, but it does. All of that. Let me tell you why. Because if I don't forgive student loan debt, your back-end ratios are too high for you to actually, even if you have the down payment and the credit, now you have too much debt. So now I can disqualify you and knock you out of buying a home. Then also, all the corporations buying up the homes before single families and people can even get a hold of it. That keeps people out of it. The 2009 mortgage crisis, when they gave those people loans they couldn't afford on stated income, companies never gave credit on what you stated your income was. You always had to prove what your income was. When they did that and they gave them the variable interest rate loans, it was so that as soon they knew they couldn't afford it to begin with. Then when they raised the interest rates, the people defaulted on the loans and they foreclosed and took the property. The only entities that had enough money at the time to buy the properties were corporations. Once it gets into the hand of corporations, that was one of the fastest ways that the middle class got out of poverty and created a middle class. Middle class could become upper middle class. It created generational wealth. So that was another thing that is now what they did with the abortion decision. The way that it's written is written in such a way that he's saying that if it was not specifically called out as a right in the original Constitution, you were not guaranteed that as a right. Do you know how many things that put on the table that they can now, and once he writes that opinion, and once it becomes published, now anything that was not in the original Constitution spelled out specifically as a right is on the table to be taken away as a right. Now, guess what that means? Guess what? When the original Constitution was written, only white male landowners had any rights.
True.
Only white male landowners. So what that does is that decision, because once it becomes precedent, and now anything that they want to say wasn't guaranteed in the Constitution back in 17 whatever, is no longer a right and is subject to be taken away. Well, that means they could take us back to the place where women, poor men who don't own, have no rights at all, right? So these are the things, again, they don't seem necessarily to be connected, but they are. And in the Sun Belt in particular, where families want to buy homes, they're buying up those homes, and those homes will never ever come back into ownership by American citizens again. And so this is a thing that continues to come up, and it's very important. I ask people, anybody that you know that might sell a piece of property, ask them not to sell it to a corporation or an investor. First of all, I don't think you should be selling property, but certainly don't sell it to corporate investors, corporations, or investment companies. So we are in a very precarious place right now where our democratic republic is really in jeopardy. And so it's important to realize how all of these things go together. And it's important for people coming home. You do have rights. You do have rights. Once you are off parole, you're able to vote. It matters. Your vote actually matters. I know in some states they have it such that people who that the votes can be overturned now by the state legislatures. But we still have to get out and vote in so many numbers that they can't even make it seem like there's been a problem. So I just want you guys to be on top of things. Yes, once you get off paperwork, once you get off parole. Yeah. So now, okay, so now I'm just being told that it was passed in the state of California, or in California, that people even on parole. Oh, I didn't even know that was passed. Okay, so now, see, this is why we get together and talk, because you need to know, okay? If in the state of California, you can vote while you're on parole. In the feds, you can vote as soon as you come home, when you get out of the federal penitentiary. So these are things that are updates. I'm getting this, just knowing this, I didn't even know that passed. So it's important to vote, even if you're not interested in who the person is. Look at those ballot measures and things.
You just said the same thing. She's saying if you come out in the state, you can vote. And then
if you're on parole.
Yeah, and you're saying, well, when they come out of the feds, as soon as they come out, they can vote. It's the same.
That's what she just said, but
no, we come out. We've been able to vote when we come out because there are no stipulations.
So at the feds, you have always been able to do that.
The state has to have a law passed for them if they're on parole. We've always been able to vote, but they weren't able to vote. And just when April was still with us, that's what April did, that PSA, because April had voted for the first time at age 58.
Okay, so this is something new, and I remember in Florida they had voted on it to allow people who were, to be able to vote as well. And so, but again, your vote is going to matter, even if it's not the people you're concerned about. Look at the ballot measures, the things that are there. It matters if you vote. If it were not the case, they would not be doing so much to try to suppress or make it difficult for people to be able to vote.
Yeah, like the Voters Act.
Mm-hmm. Right. So a lot of things they matter, and like I say, people may not think they have anything to do with anything, but they do. And so I just want to say it's been a great evening.
Yes, always.
It's been a great evening.
I learned something again.
Okay. So go ahead. So that should go and do your checkout for me.
Tonight, I didn't know when you feds in the state, when you come out the feds, you can vote.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can vote when you out the state.
In California.
Mm-hmm. Learned that too.
Okay, awesome. Anything for you?
And out of Florida, and I'm sure that's what you were speaking on, they had the right, but they're trying to retract.
Yes, the legislature is trying to, in the state of Florida, the citizens voted to give them the right to vote while they're on parole. They voted for that. The state legislature is trying to stop from enacting it because they don't want people to vote. They wouldn't go to all of those links if it didn't matter. Okay.
Desmond Meade was here one time. He's the one that spearheaded that, and he is an attorney, but because he has a felony, he can't practice in Florida.
Right.
So he had to go to the next state and stuff, but he still spearheaded that. And
Florida's really strict.
Got a lot of support. Any last things for you, sir?
Yeah, I'm voting for Mickey Mouse.
Oh, he's gonna vote for Mickey Mouse. Okay, when I say
you will be surprised how many people do that.
no, I don't think I would, because there's a lot of people that do write-in candidates and they write in all kind of folks.
They sure
and
do.
So I just want to say, I want to encourage everybody out there to check your state, check where you live, and vote, because I'm gonna tell you this. For the first time in 2021, there is a report that comes out every year, and it talks about the state of democracies around the world. And for the first time in 2021, the United States was put on that list as a sliding democracy. What does that mean? It means that as thin as our democratic republic is, as thin as our rights are, that literally that is in jeopardy of being taken away from us. And it's the first time since they've been compiling a list for decades that we've ever wound up on that list in any capacity. So that is saying that there's a possibility that the lifestyle that we think we're accustomed to is this close from being taken away from us. And part of it is voting. And part of it is related to economics. It's all about economics, okay? But we have to have our voices heard, and we also have to make sure that we're supporting the voices of other people, because when they first come after other people's rights and you don't say nothing, and they come after somebody else's, eventually they're coming for yours as well. And one other thing that I heard, so I will use this as my checkout to say something I heard earlier today that I had never thought about but was true. When the people who claim to be for the Second Amendment, right? And I'm for the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I am. But when you tell me that that's the reason, that's the reason that we don't have gun control, or we're not requiring extensive background checks and stuff like that, universal, you do one background check for all across the country and stuff, simple things like that. The reason we have that is because the issue that now they want to come and take all of your guns away. Right? That is what they say. Once they come here, it's a slippery slope, and now they're going to take your guns. Well, guess what? In 1994, there was an assault rifle ban that was put into place in 1994. Guess what?
bit of difference.
It did. No, the number of mass shootings went down in the country. When Bush let it sunset, which I think was like 2003 or 4, something like that. When he let it sunset, they have tripled since then. But this is the other thing. This is what the point I wanted to make, is that between 94 and whenever he let it sunset, there was not another single piece of legislation put up about taking anybody's guns. So we have a history that when there was an assault weapons ban, nobody came for your guns. Nobody came for no more. It wasn't no slippery slope about your guns. Now, on the other hand, when they talk about Roe v. Wade and the way that was written, Republicans have already started talking about the fact they stopped calling it birth control and now they're calling it abortion-inducing medications.
Wow.
So that's the next thing. They've already said that they're coming after that. They've already said that they're coming after the morning after pills and all of this kind of stuff. Now they're going to take away Plan B and they're going to take away birth control. So all of this, so in other words, but they've already said these things out loud already. So when you talk about a slippery slope, no, you got to look at who's really trying to take your rights and your freedoms and understand what that is. But the fact that all of the years that assault weapons ban was in place, there was not another single piece of legislation to further take away guns from anybody. That's number one. The second thing is when we talk about the fact that you have 19 children and 2 teachers die, and you're telling me that the problem is mental illness, okay, Republicans, where has your legislation about mental health been in all these years?
But now they are putting them in schools.
Who's that?
Mental health. Some schools I go to, they do have in the front like mental health office and mental health this that. Some schools they are starting to flip in, but kids don't.
If you don't think nothing's wrong
right.
with you,
if you don't, first of all, you don't think nothing's wrong with them. First of all, you don't know nothing about it.
If you think it's other people that make you feel. If you think it's other people that make you feel isolated, then you have no problem.
Right.
But this is the other side of it, though. This is the other thing that I always said, is that, okay, well then if it's mental health is the issue, then all of the facilities to house the mentally ill that Ronald Reagan closed in the early 1980s, put those facilities back up. Put a place where you can put all your mentally ill people. Okay. Okay, well, I'm just saying. Well, then the government can do whatever it want to do. Y'all can take stuff to do whatever you need to do, so then find facilities to do that. In other words, if you say that the issue is mental illness and not the amount of guns that are in the country.
They're using that to piggyback on to get money to me.
No, they're using it to avoid dealing with the fact that we have too many guns in our country. That's what they're using it for. So they're using it to say, even though we're the only country in the world that has the problem of mass shootings that we have, there is no other country in the world that has the level of mass shootings that we have in this country. In the same period of time, they want to talk about like immigration is a problem. They bringing their crime over here, whatever. Mexico had 8. In the same period, we had 288 mass shootings. Yeah. See, you gotta, let's start talking about the truth of what's really going on. And the reality is we do have a gun problem here. I had my nephew told me, he said, well, if you just take away the guns, other countries that have done that, they have knifings. Okay, well, guess what? You're not gonna be able to kill 19 children and 2 teachers in about 10 minutes with a knife. Somebody's going to overtake you. I would take my chances with that rather than us to have. So the reality is that no, it's a gun problem. Okay, but it's
always been a gun problem.
It's always been a gun. Let me tell you this. Right, when you think back to the dope game in California, in the 80s, they started leaving box cars full of guns on tracks for the dope dealers to get the guns. Okay, because they knew that the money would create this environment. So what I'm saying is that it's always been a gun issue. It's always been a gun issue, and they put them in the communities. We don't manufacture guns in the hood. We don't manufacture guns in the hood. And for those people who say, well, it's a criminal with a gun, that's the issue. The little boy that bought that gun legally.
Sure did.
The Kyle Rittenhouse had that gun. His mama bought that gun legally. Okay, those were not illegal guns. Okay, so stop with the nonsense.
In a box with no lock.
Right. Okay. So the bottom line is that we need to vote on things, but we need to be paying attention. I need you guys to understand. The intent is to take us into an autocracy. What is that? Where one person, it gives the impression that there are elections and that we have some rights and whatever, and really we don't have anything. There's really one person pulling the strings, and until that person dies, and then they pass it on to somebody else. So unless we want to go there, we need to vote. I hear people say, I'm not voting no more. That's not the answer either. Okay, none of this is a perfect system, and I can understand that
world, so you can't sit there and be that
it's
way.
Never gonna be perfect.
You can't be like that.
It's never gonna be perfect.
Walking around with a hard heart, but the things that's going on, it's not gonna make the world better.
It's not. And on that note, we will see you on Free to Heal next time. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. Yeah, walking around with a hard heart is not gonna make